Okay, in this video we're going to take the CO2 Dragster template that you have downloaded and saved, and we're going to start off by moving the axles. Then we're going to add a construction line to mark the front of the car, and then we're going to be drawing the car body. Looking over here on the left, it's very important to know that there are a few sketches labeled Do Not Touch, which we do not want you to open, along with one right here. The front view draw here and the bottom view draw here are the two sketches you will be drawing directly on. Let's start with the front view draw here. I'm going to double click. So first thing we're going to do is move the rear axle in relation to the back of the car, along with the distance between the rear and front axle. This is referred to as A3. This is referred to as A4 on your sheet. Keep in mind there is another A3 here towards the front, which we're not going to worry about. So let's start with double clicking on this dimension. I'm going to zoom in with my mouse wheel and double click on 45. According to my drawing, this number should be set to 40. So I'm going to type it in, hit enter, or hit the green check mark. I'm now going to double click on A4, which is the distance between the rear to the front axle. According to my drawing, this number should be 150. Remember that is A4. There's a second A3, once again, we're not going to worry about. So now we're going to jump up to the line tool, and we're actually going to select a construction line type. I'm going to zoom in here towards the front. Once again, I'm going to use the hand tool just to kind of make sure you can see what I'm doing. And now that I'm in hand tool, I'm going to go ahead and select the line tool again, just to make sure that we are ready to draw a line. Keep in mind, construction has been set. I tell students to typically click somewhere in front of the front axle, anywhere along the bottom of your car. I'm going to single click with my left mouse button. Move vertical. Keep an eye on the degree. Do not worry about the length of the line. The degree should be set to 90. Once you get to the top of your car, left click again, and you can clearly see you have a construction line. If you double click your mouse wheel, everything should now fit onto your screen. Now I'm going to go ahead and select the dimension tool, and the dimension tool is going to allow me to put this construction line where it should be in terms of the length of my car body. This is DB2, which is Dragster body length, DB2. So I'm going to click once here with my left mouse button. I'm going to move to the back and just click anywhere on this back line of my car. I'm going to click a second time. And now I'm going to move below the dimensions. I'm going to click a third time. According to my drawing, this DB2 should be 220 on my car, which is 220 millimeters. I'm going to hit the green check mark. Okay, so keep in mind we have a construction line set. I'm going to turn off construction line. I'm going to draw a car very quickly here just to demonstrate three very common tools. Let me start with the line tool. So I'm going to click on line. Shortcut to that is the L key. I'm just going to zoom in a little bit here. Keep in mind construction line is turned off. I do not want that on. My car starts here on the back. This red dashed construction line is the edge of the safety zone thickness of your cartridge, which means you may draw on it. We've included an extra 6 millimeters around the CO2 cartridge hole, so you may draw on that line or away from it. On the outside is fine. According to my drawing, I know this has a distance of 65, but I'm just going to draw a car real quick. I'm not going to worry about measurements. I'm just going to draw a car just to show you the three tools. So I'm going to just click line here. There's an object line. I'm now going to click over under line and select something called spline interpolation. Remember, control vertex is another option. Let's use spline interpolation. I'm going to zoom out just a little bit. Spline interpolation is basically one long curve with a series of points. That was my first click, my second click, my third click, and I'm going to end here on the front. That's my fourth click. To end the spline interpolation tool, you want to click on that green check mark. Now, as you can see here, I went inside this area that I want to just talk briefly about. Stay outside of this construction line area. This is the minimum 6 millimeter distance we want around the axle hole, and the distance from the bottom of the car to the axle should be 9. So for this drawing, we want you always to stay outside of it. You can draw up to it, but do not draw through it. So obviously I drew through this half circle that you can see here. So let me show you how to change that. I'm going to go ahead and hit my escape key just a few times to get out of the spline interpolation tool. So what's great about this function is I can click and I can drag these points. As you can see here, I can left click and drag, and that way I got outside. I can also right click and I can insert more points. I can add another point, for example, here. And something else I can do, if I see a point I just don't like, I can click on it and hit my delete key and get rid of it. And another nice thing is you can click on a point and you can actually move it. You can click and you can drag it to a new location. I'm going to put that point now over here. If I zoom in really close, when I click on a point on spline interpolation, it's very hard to see, but there are these very faint bars. There's one right there. I'm going to click and drag it. You can see you can bend the spline as well. Now I'm going to hit Control Z, and I'm just going to zoom out. I'm going to double click my mouse wheel, and I'm just going to move forward, so I'm going to leave this as it is. Once again, let's go back to the line tool. You can either click here or you can click below it. That's fine. Once again, we're just going to draw a very fast car. I'm going to click once, twice. I'm now going to click from here to here because this is how my car looks. And I'm going to go ahead and click here. Moving forward, remember, I cannot just stop right here and then draw through this. This is not allowed. So we would have to fix this. The easiest thing to do here is simply hit Control Z. You can hit Control Z a second time to get rid of that line, or simply click on the line tool and just add to that existing line just to get outside. There we go, click, and then I'm going to come up. So in my design, I do have some type of arc shape here. So I'm going to stop right here, and I'm going to click on the arc. Now the default is what's called a 3-point arc. 3-point arc works like so. You click on your start point, you then find an end point. The third click is what bends the shape of the arc. So I'm going to make a nice smooth contour, just like that. Once again, line tool, I can click on the front of my car, I can come back. Once again, same rule applies. You want to stop no less than this. Do not stop inside this area. So I can even go further if I want. I can even stop here. That is fine. I'm going to click on that arc tool again. Arc, arc. Could even have drawn maybe a line there, but I'm just going to go with an arc. Now I'm going to draw something kind of funny here. I'm just going to leave it rather skinny. Not to say that's a great design, but just for demonstration purposes. So here we have a car, and I have a complete outline of my car. Obviously, a big thing here to check is that it meets specifications. So one tool students will use, obviously, is the dimension tool to check various parts of their car to make sure they meet specs. For example, something that students may consider doing is making sure that the amount of material that they have around their axles is correct, meaning I could click here, I could click here, and I know that's clearly much more than what I need according to my specifications. I could either leave that dimension there, I could even adjust this dimension by changing the number, or I can simply just check it, and then if I don't need it anymore, I know it meets specifications, I can just delete it. Another great tool is to click on the line tool, click on construction, and then you can actually draw simply a line. Now, keep in mind that I could draw a line, and I can see that's clearly not legal. It's 12.749. This is DB7, should be at least 14. I many times will find the thinnest part of my car and just draw a line, and then type in the spec, which is 14 or more, should be the minimum thickness. And now I've created, I'm going to hit my escape key a few times, I've created a reference, and you can see here I clearly am less than what I should be. Keep in mind, I can kind of move this dimension, as you can see here. Funny things happen when you do that, so as always, I'm going to hit Control Z. If it doesn't look the way you originally wanted it, just redimension it, but that looks fairly accurate. So I could obviously click on something and may or may not find the way to change it. Some things can be moved. As you can see here, I can kind of bend this arc. Keep in mind, by doing that, I've also adjusted this. That's one way to do it. Another way is to simply right-click, delete what you originally drew, and replace it with either a new arc or a new line in this case. I'm just going to have this stop right here. Now, here's a great thing that happens. Every now and then the student forgets to change something back to a object line. So you simply select the construction line that you meant to make an object line, select it with your arrow, take off construction, and now it becomes an object line. Clearly I have an area here that's much thicker than 14. So once again, you can sometimes find points. As you can see, I found a point where a line met an arc, and you can manually adjust some of these lines and curves and arcs that you've made. Once again, that was a very quick, easy way to draw a car body. There are other videos that I've included with much more detail on putting things like construction lines, points, to get a more accurate design of your front view. I'm going to hit Finish Sketch. I do not want you to extrude it, but one thing I want you just to understand is that by clicking on the extrude option, you can always verify, you can see my car turns green, that I have a complete outline of my car body, meaning it's completely bound. That's a very important thing just to check, but do not extrude at this point yet until your teacher has checked your work. Let's go ahead and hit save. And the next video will be drawing the top view.